Hey guys, so here's your guys' home or notes on quadratic formula today. So learning goals, students will be able to use the quadratic formula to find the roots, x-intercepts, or what we call our zeros. So in today's warm-up, you had to solve for the x-intercepts. Now, in order to solve, you set f of x equal to 0, and then you solve for this, or the only way you guys know how to solve for this is by factoring. Negative 15 up top, 2 on the bottom. What times what is negative 15? 4 times negative 3. But when we add those two, it gets you guys 2. Now, here's our factors. X plus 5 times x minus 3. So we set both of them equals to both factors, equal them to 0, so that we can solve for x. Subtract 5 to both sides, add 3 to both sides. So we have x equals negative 5 and x equals 3. So normally we would write our x-intercepts like this, but we can write our solutions we found for x as this. So if it's in the brackets, that means that those are our solutions. And of course, if they're in parentheses, that means those are x-intercepts because they're on the x-axis. So get used to seeing the notation like this, you guys, meaning the solutions are x equals negative 5 and x equals negative or positive 3. So now we can't always factor, you guys, to solve for x. So as a result, we need other methods to be able to do that or to solve for x. And this is one of them. The quadratic formula. Notice ax squared plus bx plus c, you guys, it has to equals to 0. The equation must always equal 0. If it does not equal 0, you cannot use the quadratic formula. And just remember, a can't be 0. So, there's our lovely formula. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, all divided by 2a. So, solutions for some quadratic equations are not rational, can be written as a fraction, and cannot be obtained by factoring. Thus, you have to use quadratic formula, which may be used to solve any quadratic equation, even ones that can be factored or not. This is a formula that you want to know and remember. So here are the steps. You gotta figure out what a, b, and c are. Make sure that a is not equal to 0. Plug in for a, b, and c into the quadratic formula. Solve for your x values, roots. There can be one solution, 2, or 0. And this is what we call the discriminant, you guys. Now, b squared minus 4ac, that's this part, right? So if it's greater than 0 or positive, you guys will always get two solutions because you're going to get plus or minus whatever you guys get from here. And you guys know whenever you have plus or minus, those are two cases to get two answers. Number 2. If the b squared minus 4ac, you guys, if that's equals to 0, where the square root of 0 is 0, plus or minus of 0 is 0, so all we're left with is negative b over 2a, which is just one solution. And if it's less than 0 to you guys, it's kind of like, do you guys recall what type of numbers you get if you get a square root of a negative answer or number? You would get imaginary. And imaginary, you guys, are imaginary, which means they're not real, so you would have 0 solutions. You will have two complex number solutions, but you'll have 0 real solutions. So let's get right into it, right? So regardless if you can factor or not, you can always use quadratic formula if ax squared plus bx plus 3 is equal to 0 and a is not 0. So what we're going to do is we're going to set this equals to 0. And then we write down our a value is 1, our b value is 2, our c value is negative 15. And we're going to use this formula to solve for x. X equals negative our b value, which is 2, plus or minus b squared. So 2 squared minus 4, our a value is 1, our c value is negative 15. All divided by 2 times a value, which is 1. Negative 2 plus or minus 4. Negative 4 times 1 times negative 15 is positive 60. All over 2. Negative 2 plus or minus the square root of 64, all divided by 2. And you guys, the square root of 64, you guys, that's a perfect square of 8. Now we can make two equations, right? So negative 2 plus an 8, that's the first case, or negative 2 minus 8, which is the second case. 6 over 2, 3. Negative 10 over 2, negative 5. Negative 2 divided by 2 is negative 5. So our answers are 3 and negative 5. Rate how you guys did. How's your level of understanding? And we get two solutions here, which makes sense because if you guys look at our b squared minus 4ac, our determinant, we got a positive 64. And if it's positive inside the square root, you will always get two answers, real or imaginary. Okay, example 2. Let's bring this over here. Alright, same thing. To solve for quadratic, you have to set the whole equation equals 0. So 2x squared minus 10x plus 3. Our a value is 2, our b value is negative 10, and our c value is 3. Now we can use the quadratic formula to solve for our x. Negative of negative 10 plus and minus negative 10 squared minus 4 times our a, which is 2, times our c, which is 3. All over 2 times our a value, which is 2. Negative of negative 10 is positive 10, plus or minus negative 10 squared is 100. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 3 is 24, so negative 24. All over 4. 10 plus and minus 100 minus 24, you guys, is 76, and divided by 4. Now, we have to simplify that square root of 76. So in order to do that, you guys make a prime factorization tree. 2 can go into 76 38 times. 2 times 38. And 2 times 19 is for 38. Pairs of 2's, leftover of a 19. So this is going to be the pairs of 2 on the outside and the 19 on the inside. So what this really looks like is 10 plus or minus 2 rad 19 all over 4. And do you guys see these numbers, coefficients, numbers right there? If all three of those can be divisible by a number, you can divide top and bottom by what can be divisible into all three. 10, 2, and 4 can all be divisible by 2. So 5 plus and minus square root of 19 all over 2. And that's going to be our two answers. 5 plus rad 19 all over 2, or 5 minus rad 19 all over 2. Rate how well you guys did that one and how many solutions we have here. We still got two solutions. Why two solutions? Because when we found the square root of 76, 76 is positive, which means you guys are going to get two solutions. Okay, example 3. I'm just going to copy and paste this too. Okay, set this whole equation equals 0. Our a value is 1, our b is negative 6, our c is 13. So plug those all into the formula. Negative of negative 6 plus and minus negative 6 squared minus 4 times our a, which is 1, times our c, which is 13. All over 2 times a. 6 plus and minus negative 6 squared is 36 minus 4 times 1 times 13 is 52, all over 2. 6 plus or minus square root of negative 16, all over 2. Now, if you guys forgot How to simplify the square root of negative 16. Remember, make it positive 16, but then there's an I that comes out on the outside. And the square root of 16, you guys, that's just 4. So we got 4i all over 2. Now, look, 6. And there's a 4. And there's a 2. We can divide top and bottom all by 2. And we're going to get 3 plus or minus 2i. So our answer is going to be 3 plus 2i and 3 minus 2i. Now notice we have imaginary numbers, you guys. And anytime you guys have imaginary numbers, that is 0 solution. Imaginary numbers cannot be a solution. They could be a complex answer, but not a real number situation. And if you guys take a look, when you guys did your b squared minus 4ac, it became a negative 16. Anytime it's a square root of a negative number, you're going to have 0 answers. And lastly, number 4, again, using quadratic formula to help aid and solve for this. So set the whole equation equals 0. Your a is 1, your b is negative 10, and your guys' c value is 25. X equals negative b, which is negative of negative 10 plus and minus negative 10 squared, b squared, minus r4 times ra, which is 1, times rc, which is 25. All over 2 times a, which is 2 times 1. Negative of negative 10 is positive 10, plus or minus negative 10 squared is 100. 4 times 1 times 25, that's minus 100. All over 2. 10 plus or minus 100 minus 100 is 0, you guys. But then square root of 0 is 0, so 10 all over 2. Right? 10 plus and minus 0, you guys. Well, plus and minus 0 is just nothing. What's 10 plus 0? Just a 10. And we're going to get 5 as our final answer. How many solutions are here? Just one solution. So make sure you guys are scaling from 1 through 5 how you are doing, how well you are understanding it, and this is pretty much the quadratic formula. So use these notes to help you guys out, and good luck on doing your guys' homework, okay? Peace.